always brings the volume and the heat. So thanks, Jim.
Yeah, you're welcome, James. I love this so much, guys. For the sake of time and brevity, I'm gonna dive right in. But one thing that I noticed, coming back to Symmetry is we have a lot of phone training. I mean, we've got a live dial schedule. You can get on and listen to people on the phones often and really, really build a skill set and see wide examples. But I felt like there wasn't much training on actually running the appointment. And Nikki did a phenomenal job, it's probably several months ago now, running a mock appointment with Jamie and Corey. But I'm so much a person that okay, I saw that one example, but I need 100 examples. I need one doesn't work for me. I need to see this over and over and over again. And so what I really did is I just kind of put together my template for this is how it works in any situation. This is what I do. And so that's what I want to share today in how to posture yourself and run an appointment. So I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to share my screen. And we're going to dive right into running an appointment. Those of you that are on calls with me, I love analogies. I love making things make sense and sometimes pulling us out of one context and putting us in another. So I look at the baseball diamond all the time in this business. And so when you're a brand new agent, that first base is just that courage to pick up the phone and dial. And often you're hoping they don't even answer. Or maybe they're all set and you can quick get off the phone until you realize, oh crap, no, the point isn't dialing. The point is to actually set appointments. And so there's a whole nother skill set that comes from once you've got the courage to dial and that becomes normal, you have to learn how to bypass their initial layer of resistance, overcome objections, actually set that appointment. And then you get to this place where you're like, look at me, I'm setting appointments. This is so great. And then you deal with your next problem. They're not freaking showing up to the appointments you set. And so that's third base, where we learn how to lock down that appointment and actually get them there. And so I look at the skill set. We talk about the learning curve. There's layers to the learning curve. And so anytime I'm working with an agent that's stuck in the learning curve, I'm like, where are you stuck? Are you stuck dialing? You're not even at first base yet? Are you setting the appointments you're at second base, but they're not showing? Are they showing up to the appointments, but you're not closing them? And this is that little run from third base to here. This is what we're going to be talking about today. This is the skill set. Now, I'm already assuming you're dialing, you're setting the appointments, and they're showing up to the appointment. So this is you now sitting with your client. Okay. We on the same page about the context in which we're talking? Okay. Now, 4 things. This fits my mind. If it doesn't fit your mind, cool, but this is how I do it. 1, I remove the pressure. 2, I establish the problem. 3, I own the process. And then 4, I'm ready for curveballs. This is my appointment right out of the gate. And so I'm going to walk through each of these elements. Okay, so step 1 in that call, I have to remove the pressure. Why? Because it exists. Every single sales call, sales meeting, salesperson, we cringe. The word sales makes us cringe. How many of you here, put a 1 in the comments if you came here because you're a really good salesperson and you wanted to be in sales? I don't see any 1s. Oh, Kelly's here. Amanda, -1. Yeah, not many 1s. Most of us are like, I'm not a salesperson. I'm not good at sales. I don't want to do sales. And so we're like, oh no, don't worry. It's not really sales. Here's the thing. It is sales, but don't let that stress you out. You can get good at sales. And it's a skill set worth getting good at. We live in a consumer economy. People want to buy things. And so people want to buy. We just have to get good at this process. And so in order to do that, we've got to understand that we need to remove that natural pressure that exists. And so I always start with that. Now, how many of you guys put a 2 in the comments if you know the show American Pickers? A few people know that show. All right, so these guys travel the country on American Pickers, and they'll go into abandoned barns or just old rundown places. And what they're looking for antiques that they can refurbish and sell for a profit. And so they'll often be like with this farmer in his barn, and in the corner of their eye, they see the prize. They see the thing that they really want, but they can't go there right away because of that natural resistance. This farmer doesn't know them. There's no rapport. Who are these guys? They got cameras all around. They can't go ask for that thing. So what do? And they talk about this process. They're like, we pick some small things we don't even really want. We pick these small things and we make a deal on those because we need to get in the process of doing the deals. We need to get an agreement and alignment. We need to find that we're on the same page. Then once the wheel's been greased, then we can get to the big thing. And understanding that will help us so much. We're not there to sell. You're only there to help people. And so I start my call every single time, assuming no business. Hey, Jeff, thanks so much for taking the time to meet with me here. I want to just out of the gate, get this out. Like, I am not a salesperson. I am a problem solver. So right out of the gate, can we just assume that no business happens between us? Let's just take all that pressure off. Who wants to do all that sales stuff anyway? Let's just take all that pressure off. If you were to pass tomorrow, what would Mary's actual plan be? Like, I'm going to take all this pressure off. I'm going to get agreement and alignment. See, so often he's coming to this meeting and he's ready to say no, like timeshare pitch, ready to say no. And then I'm over here and he's looking at me as an opponent and I need to take that away. I've got to get on his side of the ring where we're looking at the same problem. And so right out of the gate, Jeff, I'm not here to sell anything. I really see myself as a problem solver. But in order for us to even move forward on that front, we gotta understand there's a problem to sell if I could even help you. So let's go ahead and assume that nothing, I did go to work for you. I did put some options together, but let's go ahead and assume that nothing I put together is even going to work for you. So go ahead and talk to me. If something does happen to you tomorrow, and of course we don't like to think that way, but assuming something did, what would Mary's actual plan be? And this is the second part of that conversation. So I'm removing the pressure. No business is going to happen. We're going to start from that. And then I'm going to establish the problem. And the point of any business in the whole world is just to solve problems. That's why I don't think of myself in sales. I'm a problem solver. The best salespeople are the best problem solvers and really problem identifiers. And you've got to understand the problem and realize that in establishing the problem, it is not for you. It's for them. They need to feel the problem gutturally and emotionally so that they are willing and want to spend their money to solve problems. That is all any of us spend money for. We spend money to solve problems. If the problem's not clear, they're not going to be able to afford it. They're going to want to think about their options. They're going to come up with a million objections because the problem isn't clear. This is the most important part of that appointment. Hey, Jeff, assuming no business happens between us at all, and something did happen to you tomorrow, what would Mary's actual plan be? Like step one, like what is she actually doing so her life can move forward financially? And then I'm shutting my mouth. I'm shutting my mouth. And I'm not going to be tempted. This was hard for me to learn, but I'm not going to be tempted to fill the space with empty words. I'm going to let them think. And they're going to hash it out. And they're going to talk about maybe a 401k or maybe some equity in the home or maybe another policy they have, or maybe they're just going to kind of walk through their options. Sometimes they have a really good plan. I've literally been in appointments where I'm like, yeah, that sounds like a really good plan. I don't think you need my help here. I've been in those. My job is not to sell them. I'm not trying to fit square pegs in round holes. I'm just trying to help people. I'm just trying to solve problems. So once we get through that and he hashes out his plan, 9 times out of 10, that plan freaking sucks. They were bad with their money. They were not responsible. They've got virtually nothing. And you're going to listen to that. and calmly and empathetically, hey, Jeff, that sounds like Mary would be in a really hard position, and that sounds hard. Can we agree that you probably need a better plan than that? That right there is your whole appointment. Because when you get that agreement, you are no longer on opposite ends of the ring, but you slid over to his side of the ring. Now he's in the ring, but you're like his boxing coach. So you're there squirting water in his mouth, massaging his shoulders. You're there like, hey, you see that problem? We've got this, buddy. Don't worry. I'm in your corner. Here's our strategy. Here's what we're going to do. I'm on the same side as you. We now agree that we see the same problem. I'm not the problem, and I'm not the one in the way. I slid over. The minute I got agreement, I slid over. Hey, Jeff, that sounds hard. Can we both agree that you probably need a better plan than that? He's gonna agree. He's going to agree. He just heard himself say out the plan out loud, and that plan sucked. That's why it's not for you. So many agents go into appointments assuming the problem. Well, they filled out the mortgage protection card. We're talking about life insurance and mortgage protection. That's the problem. We don't allow them the space and the time to hash through this. They just got a card, click, thought it was a good idea, but they never thought through this. People don't like to. You gave them the space and the freedom, and now you're coming with empathy, slowing it down. That sounds hard. Hey, can we both agree that you probably need a better plan than that? Yeah, he's going to agree. And now you're on his team. Now you can help him. And the minute he sees you on his team, you come over as that coach. And now the coach owns the process. He agrees. Yeah, I agree. I do need a better plan than that. Great, Jeff. Here's how the rest of this call goes. That's my minute. The minute I get that alignment, I get that, okay, we're on the same team. We see the same problem. Now my hat goes on. Now I'm the professional. Here's how the rest of this call goes. I just take this now. You stepped into my sandbox. I'm in control of this whole process. Here's how the rest of this call goes. I'm going to show you some options. Every single one of them is better than your current plan. You're going to choose which one is the best fit for your coverage needs and budget, and then together we're going to apply. Does that sound fair? Now, why is that brilliant? On the sound fair, I will ask if it sounds fair 7 times in an appointment. I am consistently getting alignment and agreement, alignment and agreement, alignment and agreement over and over and over again. Does that sound fair? He's going to agree it sounds fair. Nobody's like, that doesn't sound fair. There's nothing there that doesn't sound fair. It sounds fair. Here's the brilliance in it, though, is I just got him to agree to the process. I'm going to show, he's going to pick, we're going to apply. This is going to come back full circle in a minute. But you got the agreement that the process sounds fair. Now you don't have to question the process. I'll show you what I mean by that. So I'm now we're in the process, right? I show, you choose, we apply. Jeff, I'm going to walk you through several options. Each of them is better than Mary's current situation, but one of them is going to best fit your needs and budget. I'm going to answer any questions you have, and then your job will be to identify that one best fit. Does that sound fair? He already agreed to the whole process. Now I'm pulling him here. Does that sound fair? Great. So I'm going to show those options. I'm going to go through those options with him. Now we get to his part. You choose. Jeff, have I given you enough information to make an informed decision? Yeah, I just threw a lot at you, Jeff. I gave you these 3 pieces. Have I given you enough information to make an informed decision? Before I'm even asking him which is the best fit, I'm making sure he has enough information. Why? Because I know it doesn't take time to make a decision. It takes information to make a decision. You can have all the time in the world, but if you don't have enough information, time doesn't matter. You need information to make decisions. So I need to clarify that I've given him enough information, because now I'm pulling out the need to think about it. I'm taking that out of his box, because time is not what people need to make decisions. They need information. Have I given you enough information to make an informed decision here? Or do you have further questions? Of the options we discussed, which is the one that best fits considering Mary's needs and your budget? Which of these is the best fit considering your budget? And then he's going to tell me one of those, because he agreed he has enough information. And if he didn't, what information is he missing? And we'll go through that. Then the minute he says, I think that second one in there, that's going to be the best fit. Great. I've got you here as Jeff. Is that short for Jeffrey? And how do you spell that? Can you spell out your last name too? Guys, I'm in the application already. I've got your address as this. I'm already in the application. I didn't pause and have this awkward, okay, so now we're going to apply. Because why? That pause is going to give him an exit strategy. That's going to be a natural break where he's going to say, I don't know, apply. That sounds, I don't. He already agreed to apply. That's why I asked him. I confidently stepped up. I said, I'm going to show, you're going to choose, we're going to apply. Does that sound fair? Yes. So now he's already agreed to the process. So of course we're going to apply. He already said we're going to apply. There's no question about if we're applying. He may stop me. It does happen that they do back up and they do stop, but I rolled right in without questioning for 1 second whether or not we were going to apply. That never crossed my mind. He agreed to the process. That's the posture you want to have. Do not pause before applying. And then remember, agreement, alignment, agreement, alignment. Don't go in for the big thing. Pick the small things first. Save sensitive info for last. The social, I'm diving in to the stuff I already have. If I already have their name, I already have their address, I already have their date of birth, I'm confirming those. Your date of birth, you told me was this, right? I've got your address as this. Your height and weight is this. Why am I confirming? Because confirming is easier than asking. I'm not getting new information. So I start with confirming, greasing those wheels. Yep. We're in agreement. We're in agreement. We're in agreement. Then I go to the questions I need to ask, but not the sensitive ones that could cause resistance. And then lastly, after we've been through a process, we're down the road, we've agreed, we've done. Now, hey, the last thing they need here is your social. And it's not the last thing I need. I don't need anything. What they need is your social. So you're going to skip the hard stuff. You're coming back to that if the application allows. But I'm saving that stuff. This is the process we're applying. I'm not breaking in between that stuff. And then the last thing, you got to be ready for curveballs. They're going to happen, I promise. So what are some curveballs we can be ready for? Number one, have that application open and ready to go so you can seamlessly move into it. Don't learn in that moment that you can't log in, or you forgot your login, or your computer wants to save the password, or this. Don't learn you're having tech issues in the appointment. Iron that crap out before you get there. Have a pivot option ready in case new medical information pops up and they no longer qualify. Like one dude I sat with, totally healthy, not on any meds. By the way, had a kidney transplant 2 years ago. Dude, that would have been really helpful to know. So be ready with a pivot, with a backup plan. Remember that every frustration is going to be related to their expectations and not the reality. If they think this was supposed to be a 10-minute call and it's now 20 minutes, they might be frustrated. Not because the call's 20 minutes, because they expected it to be 10 and it's not. Call it out. Do your best to set expectations ahead of time. I had the question about, he just seemed really, really defensive. He was short. I call that out every time. Every single time. Hey, Jeff, you seem a little bit defensive, and I totally understand that because I'm just a guy who called you and you don't know me. I'm going to go ahead and just text over a picture of my license so you can know who you're talking through. Do you think that would help? Or if they seem distracted. Hey, Jeff, you seem really distracted, and I want to make sure we give something of this magnitude the importance and the attention it deserves. Is there a way to move into a more quiet place or a better time for us to meet? I'm just calling it out. I'm not going to trudge through with them half distracted. If you're going to get it, I need to think about it. I promise. If they're not paying attention because they're distracted, and then you get to, you're going to get a need to think about it. Why? Because they don't have enough information. Remember, it's not time, it's information. Why don't they have the information? Because they were distracted the whole time. I call it out. This needs attention. This is important. So slow, call it out. Hey, do you think maybe we need to pivot to this time, this space, this? I need to think about it. Jeff, I totally get that. I also like to make sure I'm making the best decision. In reality, the insurance company needs to think about it too. And that's why we're applying. You know, the last thing I want for you to do is spend 2 weeks weighing the pros and cons of this coverage, finally decide you want it, come back, and then we end up getting declined. Now, I think you're going to qualify for this, but I'm not even 100% certain. So I don't want you spending that time weighing the pros and cons for something that's not even on the table for you. You know, my job really as a broker is to bring two parties together. So I'm going to bring you and the insurance company together, and that happens with the application. Does that sound fair? Always does that sound fair? Always. I want to price out other options. Hey, I totally get that. I also like to make sure I'm making the best decision. I'm going to share something with you. While I mentioned these 3 options, what I didn't mention was that Foresters was going to charge you this, and Mutual of Omaha was going to charge you this, and SBLI wasn't even going to take you. And so I only presented 3 options, but I did a lot of price shopping already for you. And I'll tell you what, I've been doing this long enough to know that people who leave this call without solving their problem typically still have the same problem months later. So why don't we do this? Let's apply for this coverage now so we can make sure Mary's protected tomorrow. And down the road, as you do your price shopping and your homework, if you find a cheaper policy, I'm going to be the first one to help you cancel. Does that sound fair? Of course it sounds fair. What's unfair about that? It's not in my budget. Hey, I totally get that. We're not solving anything if you can't afford it. I'm going to go find something that does fit your budget, Jeff. The coverage is going to be less, but can we agree that something is better than nothing for Mary? That's an important agreement. All of your critical period people that I want the full mortgage or nothing. Establish the problem and then come here. Can we agree that something is better than nothing for Mary? Any possible objection? I totally get that. I feel the same way. Every time, doesn't matter what they say. I totally get it. We're agreeing, agreement, alignment. Totally get that. I really feel the same way. In fact, that's exactly why we're doing this. And then explain why. I'm not comfortable giving you my bank account information. Hey, I totally get that. I feel the exact same way if some stranger just called me up on the phone. But I'll tell you, that's exactly why we're doing this. See, normally we would have met face to face, and the insurance company won't even consider your application without a check for the first month's premium. That's your way of saying, hey, my hat's in the ring. I want this. Consider me. So that's exactly why we're doing this. Does that sound fair? Simple. Any possible objection. I totally get that. I feel the same way. That's why we're doing this. Do not be afraid to slow the whole thing down or press pause altogether to go back to the drawing board. You're in control of this whole thing. If it gets overwhelming, if the pivot's too big, gosh, when I was new, Jamie laughs, several people laugh that have been with me for a while. I was SBLI or nothing. I didn't have backup plans. If they didn't qualify for SBLI, I freaked out and I didn't know how to pivot. I would have to pause that entire thing. I didn't have backup plans. That's okay. That's okay. Yeah, what's a pivot? I didn't know. A pivot is just having a policy in your back pocket. If your primary policy is an immediate issue, it makes an immediate decision and it doesn't work, your pivot is where you're going to go to, pivot to, move to, if that first one doesn't work. I didn't have that. I was too new to know that. So I would have to pause the whole thing, but with your posture and your confidence. And here's the thing, is it hard sometimes to get people back to the drawing board if you pause them and have to reschedule? Yes. But it's immensely easier if they are aware of the problem. If you did your homework and you got the problem, guess what? The problem isn't yet solved. That is much easier to get them back to the table when they know of the problem they have here. Do not let them rush you or fluster you. You are in control. This is your sandbox. Like a toddler, they are going to test those limits. They're going to try to take control of the conversation. They're going to try to tell you they're in a rush. They're going to try to tell you it's going to happen this way. They're going to try so hard to dictate the terms, but the minute you saw their problem, the minute you got their vulnerability and they agreed, yes, I need a better plan than that. Great, Jeff. Here's how the rest of this call goes. That's when you take control. People used to say you need to have posture. I didn't know what posture meant. People needed to tell me, oh, posture is just like you assume the application. Okay, cool. So I'm in this meeting, in the back of my mind, I'm like, I assume I'm going to get it. I assume I'm going to get it. I assume. What does that mean? I don't know what, like, I could posture, like stand up straight. I'm on my tiptoes already. Like, what does it mean? It can be a cool word, but I never knew what it meant. And then as I was running some appointments, that clicked. I'm like, that's what it means. Literally, posture is, here's how the rest of this call goes. It is me taking control of the pace, the flow, the content, the information. When they try to deviate and they're distracted, call them out and pull them back. Hey, Jeff, you seem distracted. Do you think something of this magnitude probably deserves our attention? Is there a better place or better time we should do this? Pull them back. This is your sandbox. That's what posture means in running the appointment. Okay, Jamie, I went 2 minutes over, but I really believe if we learn how to sit with this posture, sit in that place, establish the problem, own the procedure, take the pressure off, we're going to close a lot more deals. Do you guys agree? Of course you agree, because I'm really good at asking questions.
So good. Jamie Tech put it in the chat. Pace, flow, content, information. I think so many of us have felt that like sleazy salesman kind of thing. And that's where we don't have those questions. We don't build that relationship at the beginning. And the thing that I think about, be ready for curveballs. There's still going to be curveballs that you're not prepared for. SBLI's website's going to be down, or the carrier you're applying for's website is going to go crash in the middle of an application, or power is going to go out, or something's going to happen. But if you have built that relationship where they truly believe that you are Apollo Creed, who went from fighting them to now in their corner and are cheering for them and supporting them, then you're still going to have that, and you're not going to have chargebacks either. And that's really the key. Jim, you were so freaking good. The other thing I want to say is there is power in silence. I remember that was the hardest thing for me as a teacher, because you want to control the classroom. You want it to go how you want it to go. You want to ask the smart kids the questions who are going to answer them the way you want them answered so that you can move to your next amazing point and keep the flow going. Sitting in that silence forces them to be engaged. You watch veteran teachers, what they do is they ask the kid to answer the question who they know isn't paying attention. Because then that brings the whole class in and everybody becomes engaged. And if you can sit and wait for them to answer the question about whether they are truly prepared for the situation you are talking about, you're going to force them to be actively engaged in your conversation. So good, Jim. So freaking good. As always, week 4, October, go break your records. We have so many people that are about to break records this month. Let's go get it and build on this huge weekend. Thank you, guys.
Jim, thank you so much. You're the best. Thank you for editing it down to 30 minutes. Guys, the workroom's open. See you guys soon. Halloween costumes next week.